For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Saturday morning, let's do this thing. The sun's a little brighter, the air's a little fresher, the deep breaths in, get the oxygen gets in there. It's a little crisper. Things are going well on this Saturday morning, all because of a Winnipeg Jets victory finally last night against the Los Angeles Kings. We're here to talk about that. We're here to preview the New Jersey Devils Jets game tomorrow afternoon. We're here to talk about everything Winnipeg Jets related over the next couple hours. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Dave Manouk is in the top right. Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom middle, and we welcome you all. It's apparently a white shirt day for us here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Our unintentionally matching coordinated outfits. We decided that the white was the way to go out of the closet tonight, and that's where we're going to get started with this morning here.
Trying to rally the Jets, Drew. That's what we're trying to do.
That's right. Just getting ahead of the whiteout for the playoffs, right? Is that what we're getting on? In any event,
sure. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. Nice to see you again. This is our third show in about 36 hours. Mm-hmm. So it's we're right in the meat of this right now. We got one more to go still tomorrow.
This is what we get up for. This is what we live for, man. This is nothing.
This is nothing.
Dave and I will do 7 shows a week if we need to, right, Dave?
I mean, Dave just passed out, and all he could do is put up his thumb in response. In any event, Jets with the much needed, as we all know, much needed victory last night. They're out of the basement of the standings in the NHL.
Drew's got a frog.
Sorry, got a little frog in my throat there. The Canucks are now dead last in the NHL. The Jets have leapfrogged them by virtue of last night's victory. So again, there you go. You can hang your hat on that as well. Do you have any reason to believe? I mean, let's forget about the idea about the playoffs. But do you have reason?
Playoffs?
Yeah. Do you have reason to believe
Playoffs?
or feel as though the Jets can string a few wins together? I mean, that's really where we're talking baby steps at this point in time. You have to stop the losing streak by getting one win. They obviously have that. They got New Jersey coming to town tomorrow. It's a Devils team that has certainly been struggling as of late. They have not, you're a Devils fan. You're the Devils maven.
It's been an up and down year. It's been a roller coaster year for the Devils so far.
Right, lost 3 straight, right? So 3-6-1 in their last 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, honestly, the Devils are, like, to use a Drew word, the Devils are a microcosm of the Eastern Conference. I mean, honestly, without looking at the standings right now, guys, could you tell me who's 1, 2, and 3 in each division? Like, it honestly seems like it changes every 24 hours, right? Like, a team that we haven't even talked about that much this year, the Philadelphia Flyers are, I think, second place in the Metro Division right now.
They're third, to be exact. They're a point behind the Islanders. The Islanders, of course, come to Winnipeg on Tuesday next week as well. But you're right. To your point about the East is just absolutely topsy-turvy. With you win 2 games in a row, you can jump up. You lose a few games in a row, and all of a sudden you're the New Jersey Devils, who are they're 5. What are they? They are 5 points out of a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So
it's starting to separate a little bit, though. I will say
a little bit more than it was before.
Bit.
Yeah, because I mean, before it was, I think Columbus was 3 points back, and they were in last, and now they're 7.
8.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a little, and it's because they've been losing, right? They've lost a couple in a row. Yeah. The Senators have lost 3 in a row. So I mean, you're right. It's not as distinct as it is in the Western Conference.
No question about it. It is great, though, by the way, as an aside. I would love to see the Penguins make the playoffs. I mean, you want to see Sidney Crosby in the playoffs at this point of his career, and they are in a playoff spot right now, having won 6 in a row. That's nothing to do with the Winnipeg Jets, but just as a hockey fan, the Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, to a lesser extent, because I don't care as much about Malkin as I do Crosby. Crosby belongs in the playoffs, and it would be great to see him make the playoffs unexpectedly this year in Pittsburgh. But in any event,
Drew, you know who's not hoping for they're not hoping reciprocally that the Jets make the playoffs. You know why?
Because they own the Jets draft picks.
Because they want that second round pick for Luke Shen to be a 33rd overall pick, like a late first rounder, for God's sakes.
Right. And of course, remember, as it pertains to the lottery, the draft lottery only applies for the first round. Rounds 2 through 7 are dependent on where you finish in the standings. So if you lose the draft lottery, but you actually finish the season in dead last, you will then pick first in the second round and subsequent rounds, which a pick, of course, the Jets do not have. It belongs to other teams. So again, that's just a little off topic. We're not really draft focused, although we will be a little bit with Craig Button in the second hour of this morning's program.
What about that news, Drew, that it might be Buffalo where the decentralized draft is happening? And everybody remembers what happened last time there was a draft in Buffalo. The Jets took Patrick Laine.
And the Stanimal. Don't forget about the Stanimal.
They traded up for the Stanimal.
Yeah, that's true.
They
did.
And now he's going to fetch them a first round pick. Everything is coming through. Nature is healing, is what that is an example of.
Dave M and I might have to go. I don't know, Drew, if you want to come, like we might have to. It's a 10-year reunion, Dave.
I think you guys need the quiet time.
That would be the last. Actually, that was actually the last draft we went to together, as he went to 2017 in Chicago. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, my last draft
stayed overnight in an airport. Which
in
airport?
Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, just we have to. I mean, before we get back into the Jets here, the reason why I stayed in the Duluth airport is because Dave and I were originally going to drive from Winnipeg to Chicago, and then 2 days before the draft, Dave couldn't come, unfortunately, so I had to find a flight, and the only flight I could find was for $1,800, and it included a 1-hour layover in Minneapolis, and I had to sleep. I slept in the Duluth airport by myself. I think it was like me and a security guard. And
didn't he wake you up to make sure you weren't dead or something?
He just poked me with a stick.
Sir, the shelter is down the street. For the unhoused,
exactly.
You can't stay in the. No, I have a ticket.
Well, what my joke was that I was just doing research because the Jets had drafted Dylan Samberg in the second round, and that's where I was. Right, I was in Hermantown.
There you go.
Right, so
that's a good another one of the a legendary escapade, as we used to have them on this program a fair bit. Back to my original question. Given what you've seen from the Winnipeg Jets over the last little while, even in the losses, you can consider the losses when you consider this question. Is there anything that you see that could give you an idea that the Jets can string together a few victories in a row? Again, not asking about playoffs, but is there any signs from what you've seen that you think the Jets could, improve their fortunes for the remainder of the month of January? You have 11 games left in the month of January, and it's always going to, you got to win one before you can win two, before you can win three, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Is there anything that you see that makes you believe the Jets could go on a bit of a winning streak? I'll start with you, Eddie.
Well, for sure. And I think, Drew, you're talking about 3 or 4 games, something like that.
That's all
right?
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about 10. I'm not talking about 11. I'm not talking about double digits.
For sure,
I'm talking about
for sure the Jets can go on a
4.
3 or 4 game winning streak. I mean, this is still a decent team. Like the thing is, I feel like once you lose 11 games in a row and you fall that far down the standings, guys, you kind of become a bit of a laughing stock. Let's not forget, though, that most of these games are 1-goal games. I think it would be completely different if the Jets were getting pumped on a nightly basis. But as we know,
they were all 1-goal games.
Exactly.
All 1-goal losses.
Right. So, I mean, they've been in these games. So, yeah, I mean, look, starting tomorrow afternoon with New Jersey. New Jersey's a beatable team. As you mentioned, I'm a Devils fan. A lot of people know that. And they are not playing at the same level as some other teams the Jets have been facing recently. So, the Devils are beatable. The Islanders are a good team. But, again, teams are beatable.
A team the Jets beat early in the season, I'll point out, in the only other meeting where they've played against the Islanders this year. They only played them twice, but that was way back in October, of course.
And I think wasn't it a low scoring game from what I remember?
Yeah, that was that was when Comrie was incredible. Remember, he played that.
The first 10 minutes or so, he was lights out, right?
It was like an after. Yeah, especially because
it was a Monday afternoon.
It was an afternoon game.
3-1 or something, right, Dave?
Yeah, that was. We were on our way back from Green Bay, Ezzy. That was the Monday because it was. Right. I don't know what U.S. holiday it is, but it's like it's not even it was Thanksgiving Monday in Canada, but whatever it was in the U.S., it was it was a U.S. holiday as well.
I believe our boy Darren Bombing stepped up and did the post-game show with Dave M, if I'm not mistaken, for that one.
You are correct.
But yeah, I think, like, to your point, Drew, I don't think that it's useful to maybe say how many games the Jets can win, because I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's about the short term putting a winning streak together. I think it's now become, how do you play for the duration of the season, right? We've talked about that so much. Like, you have to win Your goal right now, as far as I'm concerned, should be to win the majority of your games. The goal, obviously, the ultimate goal is to make the playoffs. But, I mean, the Jets are 10 points back. That's going to be really hard to do. What are the Jets going to have to – the Jets will probably have to, win 65% of their games to make the playoffs, 70% of their games to make the playoffs? Like, it's pretty insurmountable. So I think right now your focus is on a nightly basis, win as many hockey games as you can. I mean, that's pretty obvious to say that, but look at how they played yesterday, right? Like, was it dominant? No. Did they benefit from some lucky bounces? Yeah, like the Scheifele goal especially was a lucky bounce, but the Jets deserved to win that game. They played, for the most part, a complete game against the Kings. And yeah, the Kings were missing some players and whatever, but yeah, I think this team is capable of, it seems, because the Jets lost 11 games in a row, it seems like putting together a 3 or 4 game winning streak, boys, is like this crazy idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course they can do it. And it's not an easy schedule. We know that the teams coming up, we've already talked about a few of them. They're not going to be easy, Dave, but that's what I'm looking at, because I still maintain what I said, a couple nights ago on the post-game show. The worst thing the Jets could do this year is get into a position where they miss the playoffs by 3 or 4 points. That's absolutely the worst case scenario. And I would say the second worst case scenario is you get into the playoffs and then you get pumped by Colorado in the first round. The best case scenario for the Jets right now is to get a high draft pick. And I'm not saying that has anything to do with this idea of tanking. But if you're asking me, like, what the best case scenario is for the rest of the season, is the Jets win the majority of their games and they still finish, bottom 3 or bottom 4 in the West, Dave. That's what I would say.
I think you're right, Ez, and I think that it's a tough position to be in, because, I mean, you go tell a professional athlete that they're not supposed to win hockey games because you want the first overall pick and see how that one goes over. It's like when Blake Wheeler was asked, if you remember, many years ago about a draft pick, and he's like, well, basically his answer was essentially, why do I care about someone who's going to play in the organization in 5 years? And it's the truth, right? So these guys, again, obviously if you get the first overall pick and get a guy who can have an immediate impact, or relatively speaking, that's a different story. But I think that, the question is whether the Jets can put together a streak here and start to do some damage. And for me, you have to, it's kind of like what Pascal Vincent used to say about being down in a hockey game. You can't score 3 goals on one shift. You can only get 1. And so that's all the Jets can do. They have to have the shortest, memory of all time right now. At this point, all they can do is think about the next game. They can't worry about their place in the standings. And I mean, the reality, I think, is that what we've seen in the NHL, and the Jets have not been emblematic of this, is that there's a lot of parity. So most of these teams can beat any of the other teams on any given night. I don't think there's really, with the exception of Colorado, who's stumbled a little bit. And again, they've had some injuries. They just lost the captain,
Landeskog.
Gabe Landeskog, because
and Devon Taves.
Yeah, and he's week to week, right? So you've got they've suffered some injuries, and we'll see how that has an impact on Colorado. But I'm just saying that it's not impossible. Again, are the Jets going to reverse course and go on an 11-game winning streak? I don't think so. But do I think that the Jets can string together wins against New Jersey and New York and Minnesota? Minnesota will be a tougher test in Minnesota on Thursday, but Toronto, Chicago, St. Louis.
Yeah, these are all winnable games.
They're all winnable games. So, I mean, again, like is it inconceivable that the Jets could win 4 of the next 6? No, not at all. At least I don't think it is.
Let me ask you guys this. You lose 13 games in a row by 1 goal, which is now a new NHL record, which is, it's really a bit of a remarkable streak. It's a remarkable streak that you can lose that many. I mean, that means a team doesn't score an empty net goal on you when you're trying to, push for the tying goal, and they don't even score an empty netter in those 13 consecutive losses. I mean, it's a bizarre streak. It's an anomaly. It's not something I think is going to be broken, anytime soon. Do you think the Jets have learned anything from those 13 in a row 1-goal defeats? Is there something that they can take from the bitterness of those loss after loss after loss after loss, and I can go on, that they can then maybe use to flip that narrative for the remainder of the season? I mean, when you're losing 1-goal games, that means you're at least competitive. You're not getting blown out. You're not like some of the really horrible teams we've seen, like the Chicago Blackhawks for the last 5 years, not this year, but or the San Jose Sharks prior to this year, and Macklin Celebrini being an absolute stud superstar, and even some of the other teams. Is there anything that you think the Jets can learn from those losses that can allow them to, I don't know, just find a way in those 1-goal games? Or do you think that's going to be their bugaboo this entire season? That when you look back at the end of the year, they're going to say, if only we could have done better in these 1-goal games. It's a different entire season as a whole. Last year, great in 1-goal games. This year, terrible in 1-goal games. They say it in football as well. If you're winning 1-score games one year, you're going to regress back to the mean the next year. The Jets have not only regressed back to the mean, they've actually broken through the mean entirely and are regressing down to the basement. So conceivably next year, it's going to flip back to the mean again at the very least. I mean, is there things that they can learn from these 13 1-goal losses that can help them for the next, what do we have? 40, what is it now? I guess it's 39 games left in the season.
Right. And I mean, you hear this, it's a cliche in life in general. You hear about everyone makes mistakes, and, you have to learn from your mistakes and learn from your errors, right? So there's always ways that you can learn from a losing streak. And I agree with you, Drew. It is ridiculous, absurd, whatever word you want to use, that the Jets lost that many 1-goal games in a row. Like, it has never happened in NHL history, right? Like, that's how bad it is. And it's a long history, right? So I think, you're learning. I think if you're a team, you're learning that in a game, your margin for error is so slim, and you don't have the ability to make mistakes when you're a team that doesn't. I think it's because also the Jets haven't had a good offensive year, and I think that what it's shown them is that they have to be even that better, much better defensively, and that's not something I think that we focused on a ton this year. Like, it is pretty remarkable. The Jets have gone from one of the stingiest defensive teams to just a below average defensive team. And I think it goes hand in hand, right? Like, obviously, you have to score goals, but you also have to keep them out of your own net. But that, to me, this goes hand in hand. The Jets have struggled to score goals, and they've also struggled to keep the puck out of their own net. Like, Connor Hellebuyck has not been able to do the Hellebuyck things that he's been able to do in previous years to keep these 1-goal games, 2-goal games. Everybody remembers how many 1-goal games and 2-goal games Hellebuyck had last year, right? It was, I think, also a record. At one point, it was something like 30 games, right, Dave?
Yeah, 30.
That Hellebuyck didn't allow 2 or more goals.
34 or 35, you're right.
Yeah, so you're not getting Hellebuckian type of numbers this year. And obviously, we're not going to put that on just Hellebuyck personally, because, he did have the knee surgery. That's something, right? Like, you can't ignore that. But it's also, he is a human being. And you always hear about goaltenders being voodoo. Like, I'm sorry, did anybody actually think Hellebuyck was going to win, 5 or 6 Vezina trophies in a row? Like, that just doesn't happen very often, right? So I think, if you're the Jets, like, you hope, obviously, that they're learning something from some of these losses, and they're able to, translate these into some wins. Because, like I said, I think the best case scenario for the Jets is you're in a draft lottery situation, but you've still won the majority of your games. Like, you don't want to finish the last 40 games of the season losing, 25 of those last 40 games or something like that, right?
When they won the Laine draft, I mean, when they won the draft lottery to select Patrick Laine, it's worth noting that their odds that year were best to have them select either 7th or 8th. Right. So they won the lottery. So, I mean, again, when it's a lottery, what happens in the lottery is teams move up, teams move down. People win lotteries. Right. So it doesn't necessarily go chalk in the lottery. So, I mean, if you're going to finish dead last, of course, you can only fall so far. So I get that. That's sort of we
call that the Buffalo syndrome or the Oilers syndrome.
There you go. That's the floor that you can go down to, where you got at least a little bit of a safety net there. But again, it is worth noting that it's a lottery, so that you can win it or you can both lose it. So it's not a guarantee. I mean, I know that people are saying tank for McKenna, tank for Verhoff. Again, all you're doing when you're tanking is improving your odds. You're not guaranteeing yourself anything, and odds can be won or lost. So I just want to reiterate that's why players and organizations shouldn't do it, because it is left up to somebody else in its entirety. Now, teams should make decisions based on the their roster and based on the current contract statuses and what the contract's going to look like. So a guy like Logan Stanley, who could be desirable in the trade market, that's going to be a very interesting opportunity for Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Jets coaching staff to evaluate and possibly improve what you can get, in terms of your draft picks and your draft standing as a result of that potential move. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that a lottery is a lottery is a lottery. Don't guarantee yourself anything along those lines. Let me ask you guys this question. You saw Eric Comrie play last night, played very well for the Winnipeg Jets. Mm-hmm. Connor Hellebuyck has not looked great. Connor Hellebuyck has looked, I would argue, tired at times, especially given the workload that he's faced since coming back from the knee surgery.
That's 12 of 13?
Yeah. He, to me, does not look 100%. Now, will he be 100% over the course of the rest of the season? Probably not. You have a knee surgery.
Team USA is hoping so.
Yeah, Team USA is certainly hoping so. But, again, you have a knee surgery mid-season. You generally aren't coming back at 100%. Usually you need an off-season to fully recover from any sort of surgical procedure, any sort of procedure, regardless of, your health when you return to the ice. Would you consider going with Comrie against the Devils tomorrow? Giving Hellebuyck, that would give Hellebuyck off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then he comes back for Tuesday against the New York Islanders. Would you consider that as an option?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I would bet the farm, if I had a farm, on Comrie starting tomorrow. But I think you're considering it because of the amount of games that Hellebuyck has played. And as you said, the fact that he's still recovering from knee surgery, it's not like those 3 weeks was all the recovery, right? Like you said, I'm not going to go reference my own ACL surgery that I had on my knee, but
well, you never did the rehab part of that.
Yeah, well, I did rehab, but I just didn't do it as thoroughly as I should have, maybe, Drew. But yeah, I think you're considering it, and I think it's another, to take the current conversation, even further. You wonder, does Comrie get maybe more starts than he otherwise would have without Hellebuyck going through this knee surgery and kind of a little bit of the struggles. And I agree. I know we're weaving a bunch of things in here, guys, but yeah, to me, that's a storyline. I don't think Hellebuyck has been bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. He just hasn't been at that same kind of godlike level that he's been the last few seasons, right? So yeah, I think we might see Comrie a little bit more. I'm not necessarily going to, like I said, I'm not going to predict that Comrie is going to start tomorrow versus New Jersey. But yeah, maybe he gets a few more starts than he otherwise would have if it wasn't for this, knee issue that Hellebuyck has gone through, Dave.
I don't think, for the record, I don't think there's a chance that Comrie plays tomorrow. I think it's Hellebuyck.
Okay, and you're probably right. Admittedly, you're probably right. It's just something that came to my mind when you look at Hellebuck's, performance as of late. You look at the upcoming schedule where it's basically every second night from here until the end, until the Olympic break. It's every second night the Jets play.
I'm not saying just to answer your question. I'm not saying that Comrie can't play a little bit more. I think they should. Mm-hmm. But I would say that I don't think that Hellebuyck needs 5 days off. I think he'd be fine with the 3 after playing on Thursday.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
And I think it's probably going to be Hellebuyck. I'll be a little surprised if it's not, but the idea did cross my mind when you look at, Comrie played well last night, so kudos to him for that. Again, he's struggled, at times this year, like every single Winnipeg Jets player, so he's no different than the vast majority of the team. But I just thought, the way Hellebuyck has looked as of late, this is a guy who has looked he's looked like it's wearing down on him. And I think it's probably all the losing is wearing down on him. His inability to get the Jets that one key save that has been his trademark, that has been his hallmark since joining the Winnipeg Jets, is always being able to make that one save at a key opportune time to keep the Winnipeg Jets either from falling behind or maintaining their lead or whatever it might be. To me, I would see, again, if Comrie's going well like he did after last night's game, I wouldn't mind running it with it just for maybe another game, given that you have an every second night schedule from here on out. The only time it's not basically an every second night game is the Monday, Tuesday back to back when you go to Chicago and then you play home to St. Louis on the 19th and the 20th. So you're going to need Eric Comrie. You're going to need him. So, and Hellebuyck just can't, after the knee surgery, you just can't rely on him as much, I think, as you have in years past. I think it's a detriment to his performance. I think it's a detriment to his health, to be perfectly honest. And I know the Winnipeg Jets are obviously in a desperate situation, but I think you have to both think to some extent short-term and long-term when you're trying to balance out the workload for Connor Hellebuyck from now until the playoffs are officially out of the realm of possibility for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be interesting. What are we, 43 games into the season, right?
Yeah.
So 39 games left, right? Like let's make a little prediction here, guys. 39 games left. Let's assume that Comrie and Hellebuyck are both healthy for the majority of the rest of the season. How many games do we think Hellebuck's going to get out of those 39? Like based on previous years, like that would be like high 20s, right? So what are we talking about? Maybe like I'm going to say maybe he gets 25 of those 39 starts, something like that.
It's going to, again, this is the team's never going to give up. So when you're going to always try and ride your horses until you're mathematically eliminated.
But you also have to, Drew, you're right though, but you also have to be thinking in terms of not just the game tomorrow versus New Jersey, as we got Jesse, the Squidmaster Pollock coming in here.
Well, I'll tell you the Squidmaster, the sign I was going to be leaving your username very quickly there, Mr. Pollock. But nice to see you this morning. This is a professional operation. You know very well that we don't put Squidmaster up on the screen here or anything along those lines. How are you, Jesse?
I'm great, fellas. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, thank you. We were just saying, sort of laughing about it. I mean, you are well known as Winnipeg Jets numero uno fan, and so we were feeling the strain of the losing streak, just having to go through that post-game show after post-game show after post-game show. And so from the fan perspective, which you could bring to the program here this morning, I'm sure that you were wearing those losses and hearing about it left, right, and center in our in the good old city of Toronto.
First of all, it's great to see you guys. Always a pleasure being on the show. It's always a great time, even in tough times. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess I was a little occupied at the same time just because I was in sorry, that was my reminder, so I didn't sleep it. So I was in Minnesota for the World Juniors, so that took up a lot of my time. Obviously watching Jets though at the same time, and there was a lot of the absolute worst loss, no doubt, was it was actually on New Year's Day. My girlfriend Emily and I were celebrating our anniversary together at Tom Reed's in St. Paul, Minnesota. And the Jets get this 4-1 lead, and I'm so fired up. And of course, the Jets just completely crumbled, and we blew that one. And that one was tough. That one because like Leafs fans already hate me, and then I really heard about it from them. So that one was really hard. But yeah, I don't know. It's been weird times right now for Jets fans.
No, absolutely. And we were talking about this earlier, like obviously, the playoffs, it's going to be tough. As you know, Jesse, 10 points out. As far as I'm concerned, best case scenario for the Jets is they win the majority of their games, but they still are in the draft lottery discussion and putting themselves in a position to hopefully get the first overall pick. Like how do you see the rest of the season, and what do you want to see out of the Jets? Because like I said, the playoffs are, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs this year. That's for sure.
It's a really great question. And I think a lot of people are wondering how Kevin Cheveldayoff specifically is going to be handling the team as we approach the deadline. I guess there's two ways of looking at it. The first way is 10 points. It's not insurmountable, right? Like it's possible to still make the playoffs. Is it likely? Maybe not at this point, but it's not out of the question for the Jets to get hot and then kind of still be in the conversation and then still squeak in. And if your team can get into the playoffs, I think you should always want your team to get into the playoffs because you never know. You could have like a St. Louis Blues situation from 2019 that happens. And the Jets have some really good pieces. They've got a great goalie. I mean, the pieces are kind of there to theoretically make a run to the playoffs, get there, and then who knows what happens from there. But at the same time, the Jets have been a pretty, competitive team for the last how many years? 8 years, 9 years or whatever. And is it the worst thing to have a year where they don't necessarily do as well? They go into the draft lottery, they get a good pick, they retool in the summer, and then they're competitive again next year. I don't think that's the worst thing. So I'm kind of the opinion that it would be really nice to see the Jets get a good draft pick and kind of retool from there. It just seems like the team, even though there are the pieces in place to theoretically make a push for the playoffs, this isn't the best team we've had. There are clear weaknesses on the roster, and I also don't really know what value we could get at the deadline. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens. Another player who I'm really curious to see what that happens, and not to spark any rumors, but like, what's going to happen with Cole Perfetti? Like, what's his next contract going to look like? This is a player that's been struggling in Winnipeg. Is he going to want to stay in Winnipeg? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks right now with the Jets.
For sure.
Well, Jesse, one of the things that the Jets are getting the benefit of this year, at least, is that they're seeing some of the prospects. So it's nice to see, Danny Gillikin make his debut. Elias Salamonson made his debut. We've got Thomas Milic made his debut. Dominic DiVincentis. So how nice is that, at least, to kind of see a little bit of what's on the farm, getting a chance to come up? Obviously, not in ideal circumstances, but at least kind of seeing them more than a game 82 of the season when it's just essentially an exhibition game.
It's great. And honestly, I think I share the opinion of a lot of Jets fans that I want to see more of it. Like, it's, there's a team that's been struggling. I get that, Chevy has his philosophy that you want to, you don't want to rush to get onto the team. You want to make your way onto the team and stay on the team for a long time, right? That's kind of the way he does his business. But, the Jets have been our last place in the league, and it might not be the worst thing to give some of these younger guys some more games and see how they adjust to the NHL speed. Give them a sample size of more than just 5 games, bring these guys up. The problem is right now, I think, is that we have this really good core in place, and we were supposed to draft these complementary players that were supposed to, help out the guys like the Scheifele's and the Connors and be secondary scorers. And the Jets drafting in the last 5 years hasn't exactly produced that. So it would be nice to just see some of these guys get opportunities, but then you look at a lot of these guys and they're even struggling in the AHL. So, I mean, you can look at it as if, okay, we should be giving these guys another chance, or if these guys aren't ready to get another chance, and it's like, okay, well, then maybe we haven't drafted very well in the last several years. And that's also a problem. So I don't know. I'd like to see more of it. I think Jolkin has looked pretty good the past couple of games. Like, he looks like he belongs on the roster. He looks like he's fit in pretty well. But I don't know. At what point is it like, okay, we need to see more of Lambert. We need to see more of Solomonson. Like, we need to see more of these players. So it's going to be an interesting second half of the season.
That it certainly will be. Jesse Pollock is our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning. It's presented by Play Now. That's our title sponsor of all of our programming. Jesse, we're in a good mood. We're trying to look at the positive side of things, at least for a little while. One of the most positive parts of this season, out of absolutely nowhere, is the performance and play of Logan Stanley. I mean, this is a guy who has been a whipping boy for Winnipeg Jets fans for many years, and all of a sudden they're chanting his name. He's, basically a driving force of the offense from the back end for the Winnipeg Jets. He's a pending unrestricted free agent. What do you think a Logan Stanley could really garner the Winnipeg Jets at an upcoming trade deadline maneuver?
What an anomaly, hey? Like, what? Who saw this coming? And you know what? Very happy for Logan Stanley. This was a guy that was – I don't think anyone saw this coming, what he's doing this year, but clearly I think when you draft these 6'7" guys who have some skill, it's like they're going to take – they're a project, right? They take a while, even though it took a really long time for Logan Stanley to start producing like this. I don't know. I'm seeing that Logan Stanley could fetch a first-round pick, which is kind of crazy to think about. I think the Athletic said that his next contract could be valued at like $25 million. And I'm like, wow, good for him. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be with the Jets. I don't know if he's going to be a player that the Jets necessarily want to keep. I'm kind of under the impression that if you can get a first-round pick for Logan Stanley, you should maybe deal him.
I mean, don't you have to? I mean, it just seems like a guy who garnered you a first round or who cost you a first round pick when you drafted him, however many years ago, I guess 8-9 years ago now. You've developed him. You've, I think, milked that cow for all that it could possibly be worth. And now, if you can, in his contract year, garner anything of significance for him, especially on a year where your team doesn't really need to hold on to him, it seems like almost like it seems like a free high draft pick sort of falling into your lap if you're the Winnipeg Jets and if you play the trade market properly.
I agree, especially in a there are some good players in this draft as well, and Ottawa doesn't have its pick this year too, so it kind of changes the whole complexity of the first round as well. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Drew. Like, I think if you could get a first round pick for Logan Stanley, you got to do it, especially because the Jets have all these defensemen that are going to be coming through their system in the next few years.
Well, you saw a couple of them at the World Juniors.
I did, and I think Jets fans should be really excited about Sasha Boumediene, and they should be really excited about Alphonse Frey. I thought they both looked really good, really steady. And yeah, I don't really think that Stanley needs to be part of the equation for the Jets in the future. And if you get a first round pick for him, then do it. But we got to make the most of that first round pick. We got to start making. Yeah, I don't know. I especially this year, like I feel like this could be an important draft for the Jets. If you get a first round pick, I agree, Drew. I think you got to deal. I think you got to deal him.
Jess, we talked about you were in Minnesota for the World Juniors, obviously doing awesome coverage for TSN and Bar Down, and we talked about Sasha Boumediene and Alphonse Frey a little bit, obviously winning the gold medal. Team Sweden, Team Canada comes a little short, but did get the bronze. And I am somebody, by the way, that I think there is something to say about winning the bronze. I mean, I realize it's not the gold medal, but it's better than finishing fourth. I think we'll all agree on that, right? But you got obviously a close-up opportunity to see Gavin McKenna, Keaton Verhoff. I mean, what stood out to you about those guys? Because, it's crazy to say this because the Jets won the President's Trophy last year, but one of those two players realistically could be in a Jets uniform within the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate to watch all of Team Canada's games in person. First of all, I just want to give credit to Team Canada because I think I've seen a lot of people being hard on them, and I don't really feel as though it's warranted. They played really hard this tournament. There's a lot of good teams, and a lot of countries have closed the gap in some way. I mean, Czechia had a really, really good team. That was a good game that they lost in the semis, and it came down to a goal. And Czechia or Sweden or Canada or Finland, like it kind of felt as though early on that one of those four teams could have won the tournament. So props to Canada. I actually thought they played a lot better than people were giving them credit for. Sure, defensively they had some issues, but I thought overall they played pretty well. Yeah, I mean, these guys were they're impressive. I'm seeing a lot of people be hard on Gavin McKenna as well, but I think this has been a big adjustment year period for Gavin McKenna. I think this is a guy who he's so skilled. Like the passes that he makes, his vision on the ice. He's a guy that drives offense. You're telling me that the Jets going to use a guy like that in their top six? Like I would be thrilled to get a guy like Gavin McKenna. Obviously, that sounds a bit ridiculous to say, but we're talking about like, oh, Gavin McKenna falling out of the top three, all this stuff. It's like he's an amazing player, and I think very likely could go number one overall. Verhoff looked really good, and you kind of look at a guy like Verhoff, and you're like, wow, he would really look good, in that Jets top four. This big guy, I believe he's right-handed guy who can just he would be really nice in the Jets on the Jets blue line. But another guy who was really, really impressive was Ivar Stenberg. This guy was amazing. Very complete game, and I think the Jets would be very lucky to get any of those guys, but they all look good. And I think people need to relax with their criticism of Gavin McKenna. I mean, this kid is lights out. His vision is incredible, and he's an offense driver, and that's what you want out of a first overall pick.
Jesse, got to ask you about Mark Scheifele not making Team Canada. I know that you asked questions about that, but I mean, it's just a function of the guy has been, having another very good year. I mean, how surprised were you that he was left off the team? I think it's an obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. And just in terms of his play, I mean, it doesn't seem, we know he's staying on the, that's what he told us after, not us because he was in Toronto talking to Kenny Weeb, but so us as the media in general, but he said that he's going to maintain the protocol. So if there is an injury, he will be able to get the recall. Do you think he's the first guy getting called up if there is an injury? I mean, I guess it could be situational in that regard as well.
It's a good question. And because like, I feel as though so many players are coming out and being like, yeah, like I might be a player up. I feel like you heard about Bedard too. I feel like there've been a couple and I'm kind of confused. It's like, are they just going to name, like, do they not
replacing the full team is what they're doing. They're going to replace everybody with a backup team.
And they would probably still win because they're such good players that they left off the roster. But yeah, I'm pretty gutted for Mark. Like I think a lot of Jets fans specifically, a lot of hockey fans are kind of under the impression it's like, what else could this guy have done to make the team? Like for what he does, he's having as good of a year as he probably can be right now. Mm-hmm. And I get the way that Canada's constructing their team. It's all about finding roles. And if they didn't see a top 6 role for Scheifele, which he could have played in for the record, but if they didn't see that kind of role for him, then it didn't make sense to have him in a bottom 6 role where they're going to be leaning on defensive play a little more. I get that, but like, I don't know. I feel like you can just take a guy like that and find a role for him. It's kind of like in a draft. You draft the best players and you figure it out from there. It's like this team. It's like,
well, exactly what I was going to ask you, Jesse, about that idea that they're drafting for roles rather than drafting for the best players possible. Because, I mean, I don't think that anyone would necessarily argue that, I mean, Team Canada, no question, has an absurdity of riches available to them, but I don't think they took the best hockey players to make up their team. And, you know, we've seen Canada do that before, and it's failed them miserably.
For sure.
You know, I mean, we all remember what happened in Nagano. I mean, now that's been a lot of years since then. It's been, 28 years.
I was going to say, I think Jesse was about 5 or 6 years. What year were you
5.
born? Yeah,
you're 5. God almighty.
93. Oh boy, we're
okay,
old.
Well, I feel old now. Thank you for that.
I feel old as a 93 right now, guys. Holy smokes!
But why does Team Canada do that? I mean, like you said, they still might win. You still got Crosby, you still got McDavid, you still got McKinnon, you still got McCarr, you still might win. But why does Team Canada, this is my opinion, almost make it more difficult than it need to be rather than just taking the best damn players and turning a guy who's who's a 90-point, 100-point player and saying, yeah, I think you can maybe do some good, you can do some forechecking or you can do some back checking on this kind of team. Why do we sort of overlook that as a possibility instead focusing on building the best team as if it's an 82-game season rather than a short-term tournament?
I think this is just kind of the way that Hockey Canada operates, and it's the way that they've always operated. It's all about finding roles. Like they've left talent before. We've seen it at the World Juniors several times. They've just left the best players off the team because they're trying to find players that fit roles. And I don't know. It's tough for me to say. I couldn't even tell you. John Cooper obviously had his hands on picking this team. Like the fact that Cirelli made the team is kind of head scratching when you compare him to. I mean, I get the decision because he's John Cooper's guy. He can do things defensively for John Cooper that he wants, and he can fit that kind of role. But at the same time, if Canada's in a situation where their top 2 lines are getting shut down, let's say by Sweden's very strong blue line, or the U.S.'s very strong blue line, and their first 2 lines, and they need to rely on depth scoring, and they're not getting the depth scoring from their bottom 6, then there's going to be a lot of questions that Hockey Canada is going to have to answer, because obviously the guys in the bottom 6 are still reliable guys who are still having good offensive seasons. But when you're leaving guys like Mark Scheifele and Connor Bedard at home, it's like, okay, well, we could have gotten more goals out of these guys. But in the same breath, if they're allowing too many goals, then you could say, well, maybe we should have picked a more defensive roster. But I agree. Like you look at the 2006 team, they seemed to try to pick roles for that team too. Didn't help them at all. They didn't have a good team. So I think this is going to be a serious learning experience. We haven't seen Olympic best on best hockey in a while. Obviously, we saw 4 nations, but next Olympics, if this approach didn't work, then maybe you are going to have to say, okay, maybe we just need to take all the best players and figure it out from there, because it's not like these guys who you're leaving behind are incapable of playing certain roles that they would be asked of, even if they would be in a bottom 6 role. Like we're talking about the best hockey players in the world here. So another thing I was going to say too is I was just like so surprised to hear that Connor Bedard, even without the injury, didn't make the team. You talk about wanting a guy on a smaller ice surface, especially against in fast hockey who can get the puck off of his stick like that. Like Connor Bedard's the guy. He's the best release in the world. And also one thing we saw with McDavid, it's nice to see McDavid scoring more this year, but McDavid is traditionally more of a pass first guy. And let's say you stick him and Marner on the same line. We didn't really see McDavid click that well with anyone at Four Nations. So if you stick Marner and McDavid on the same line, you kind of want a true goal scorer on a line with them. Who's that player going to be? I mean, to me, I think Celebrini is going to end up playing with McKinnon and Crosby, but I feel like Celebrini on that first line with McDavid and Marner would probably be the best fit, but I digress. Sorry.
No, Jesse, you got me really excited. Just like Crosby, McKinnon, and Celebrini on a line. Like that's like a dream, like a hockey dream scenario, right? Like that's going to be whatever the line combinations are for Team Canada. It's going to be sick. I'm with you. I agree with you that Connor Bedard. I mean, it's like that age old thing with Team Canada. It's like, you say this guy should have been on or that guy should have been on, but then that means that some other deserving player most likely is left off, right? Like I saw your snubs for Bar Down. I agree with you about Sam Bennett as well. I thought Sam Bennett was going to be a lock for this team, reigning Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Like, so it just shows you how good Canada is. But I wanted to go back to the Jets. We talked about some trade possibilities earlier, but you're 2 months away roughly from the trade deadline. Like I was going to ask you kind of what you're expecting from this Jets team, because obviously in previous years, the Jets have been a buyer. And this year, most likely, they're not going to be a buyer. I mean, there always is the chance. A lot can change in a few months, but most likely it's looking like the Jets are going to be one of those sellers along with, the Vancouver Canucks and Calgary Flames and a few other teams. Like, are you looking at this as Chevy should do the most he can do for the future of this team? Like, that goes without saying, I guess, but because I don't think anybody's expecting there to be a fire sale where Chevy trades like 5 or 6 players.
Yeah. I'm tempering my expectations. Let's say that. I don't really expect Chevy to go out and make all these moves. Like even though maybe he should, I just don't. I'm not really expecting that. I keep seeing reports that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to want to maybe trade for someone. He likes trading for players with term, and then you're like, okay, well that's kind of like a bit of a weird thing to do in the middle of a season where you're near the bottom of the standings. I'm seeing like Jesperi Kotkaniemi potentially being a name out there, which I got to be honest with you guys, like,
no thanks.
I see that and I'm like, what is
4 more years at 4.8?
Yeah, exactly. No. And it's like
Kotkaniemi, Jesse's not the guy.
No, he's not the guy. Like, what are you doing? Our second line guy for us? Like, no. And I think that kind of is part of the reality of like Chevy's job as the general manager in Winnipeg. It's like, it's a tough market, obviously, to manage. And I'm not excusing him for like not going out and getting better players. But like, that's probably the reality of being the general manager in Winnipeg. It's like, especially during the season that the Jets are having now. So I don't know. It's kind of bizarre to me that I keep seeing these reports that the Jets are looking to trade for someone with term in what feels like a lost season. It's like, maybe we should just sell, just regroup in the offseason, get a good draft pick, and then try to get some guys to come in and then get back to the form that we were at last year. Because I don't know. Honestly, I do think that we should be sellers at the deadline, 100%. And again, a name I go back to, and I'm not trying to stir anything, but I just can't stop thinking about it. It's just like, what's going to happen with Cole Perfetti? I don't know. He's such an intriguing player to me. Like, this is a guy that is clearly having a down season right now. I'm not saying it's necessarily his fault, by the way, for having the down season. He hasn't exactly been playing with star-studded talent for a majority of the season. But I mean, it's crazy to think that Logan Stanley has like more than twice as many goals as Cole Perfetti at this point of the season. It's like, what's going on here? What do you guys think? What's his next contract going to look like? Is Winnipeg going to be a long-term place for Cole Perfetti? I'd imagine the Jets are going to do everything they can to get something done there, but I don't know. That's just a name that kind of intrigues me.
Well, so Perfetti is, after this season, he's an RFA. He's 2 years away from unrestricted free agency. So, I mean, I think that the Jets, to answer your question, at least give my opinion on it, I think that the Jets are going to chalk up Cole Perfetti's performance this year as a bit of a lost year due to the injury. Right. I think that's what they're going to focus on this offseason. They're going to say, you were injured, you were never fully healthy. to be honest, you were saddled with not a lot of support on your line. Although Gabe Velarde is now, there looks like there's a little bit of chemistry there, but it might be too little, too late. With Velarde and Perfetti. I bet you it's either going to be, they're not going to sign him to a 2-year deal, which would walk him into unrestricted free agency at the end of it. So I bet you that's either a 1-year contract where he'll be another RFA at season's end, or they might do something. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something, 4 years at a lower dollar value and say, we still believe in you as a result. But if you're Perfetti, do you want to sign a low value 4-year deal, or would you rather take a 1-year deal, prove it, and then come back the year after and really sort of kickstart the negotiations again? I mean, that would be my thinking from both sides as to where it's more likely going to go than not. But I'm usually more wrong than I am right.
For sure. And I again, I know he's an RFA and the Jets have control over him, and like that's a great thing. But like I just feel like we're almost at a stage where it's like, okay, what do we have in Cole Perfetti here? Like I get he's young and he's very skilled. And last year he took a step forward, and witnessing him score that goal was like literally probably the greatest single moment of my life. But
don't tell your girlfriend that.
She knows. I've told her that many times.
So far, right? Like, yeah, there's other good things coming, but you're saying so far, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
She's packing her bag. She's walking out.
Yeah, she's like, "See you later. You're a weirdo." So, but I'm just like,
how many times has she seen the replay of Perfetti's goal? By the way, Jesse, how many times have you shown that to her? In the thousands, probably, right?
And this for me, like she will hear me like yelling at the TV during Jets games. Like she goes through it all. And fun for Emily. Emily is Swedish. Like we met at the World Juniors in Gothenburg, and she got to join me at the World Juniors, and she got to see Sweden win, which was like so cool.
It's awesome.
And she got to like go to all the games, which is really awesome. So
and you've got a translator with you at all times too.
I have a translator with me. Yeah. Well, actually, a good buddy of ours is Stenberg's agent. So we were just like with Stenberg's agent and Stenberg's dad and Alphonse Frey's dad actually for like a lot of the tournament, just hammering sods with them. It was really nice. But no, it was back just back to the Perfetti stuff. Like I'm just I don't know. I doubt I'm the only Jets fan being like what is Cole Perfetti? Like what is he? And I guess we're still figuring that out. I think that we need to surround him with better players, but what's his ceiling? And I don't know. It's just even when players are RFAs, like if they're in rough years like this, you just wonder things. I don't know.
Jesse, one of the things I wonder is when you do your interviews and you get a chance to talk to some of these players and like how much research do you do into them? Like, to be honest with you, like especially with some of the younger guys, you don't really know much about them. So I mean,
the answer is hours of research. Jesse is staying up till 4 a.m. doing hours. He's scouring the internet, Dave.
I'm not asking for that sort of specificity. Thank you, though, Ezzy, for supplying it. But what I mean is, in terms of getting a sense as to whether a guy's going to be a fun interview, a serious interview, because I'll be honest with you, we've talked to Alphonse Frey when he was drafted by the Jets and here for training camp or development camp. But after this World Juniors, I realized this kid's got an incredible personality. Awesome. And I had no idea, really. I had no idea, but I was watching him after they won gold, but just some of the things that he was doing throughout the course of the tournament, I was like, this kid's got a great personality. He'll be a good interview. Same with Sasha. And Sasha we had on the show after he got drafted. We had him on, right, Drew, after he got drafted?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so we've had him on before. We've talked to him. But you sometimes don't get a sense of these guys about how good they're going to be. And from your perspective, I guess also the difference between talking to a Jonathan Taves type or the guys who are just coming in? How do you kind of mix and match and figure it all out?
Well, so yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to just be around someone to like get a true feel for who they are. And I also like, whenever a player's drafted to the Jets, I'll message them and I'll say like, welcome to the squad. And then kind of be in touch here and there. Just like I was actually potentially going to meet up with, I talked to Sasha and Alphonse last summer because I went to Sweden last summer and we were potentially going to meet up for lunch, but I think they were both out of town. It ended up being out of town at the time, but yeah, I mean, look, I live in a world where you can kind of see people's personalities through social media. Like Instagram is a good way to see like what are people like, what do they post. You can kind of get a feel of who they are in that sense off of like clips that you see of them, clips that their teams post of them. So yeah, I mean, that's a good way to like kind of gauge what people are like. Even at the World Juniors being, sorry, my girlfriend's just like looking at me, like staring into my soul right now. I don't know what's going on.
Is it because we're asking about Swedish players? Is that why?
Yeah. Like what is going on right now? So yeah, I mean, also for me, being around these players at the tournament before you get to talk to some of them too is nice because like then I really get a feel for what they're like. And seeing Alphonse and Sasha during the tournament, especially in the dressing room after they won, it was so cool. We got to be in the room with them and just seeing these guys pump. Actually, Sasha had the most nails line to me. So like we high-fived or whatever, and because he obviously scored the goal, I was like, I want to see more of that on the Jets. And then he looks at me and he goes, Stanley Cup next. I was like, hell yeah. That is what I want to see as a Jets fan. Yes.
Music to the ears of Winnipeg Jets fans. Jesse Pollock, TSN, Bar Down. Always fantastic catching up with you, buddy. We'll get together next time you're in Peg City visiting the fam. Thanks you so much for joining us this morning. Thanks for taking time and setting the alarm. It's always an honor when somebody sets an alarm to be sure to wake up and join us here on the program.
Of course. Great to see you guys as always. We should absolutely go for lunch or some beers next time I'm in. I would love to see you guys. And good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos to you too, Jesse. Take care, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. There he goes, Jesse Pollock, joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve
Squidmaster General.
Say that again, Dave?
Jeff Ross is the Roastmaster General, and Jesse is the Squidmaster General.
There you go. The Squidmaster General. It's always great catching up with Jesse, getting his insights into what he saw at the World Juniors, and really he always brings a level of excitement that's perfect for the show.
Well, he gets to know these guys. He gets to know them on a different level. That's why I asked the question I asked, because we are like, I mean, you become familiar with players, especially when you work with them in the Moose, right? Yeah. So you get a little more, you become a little more familiar with them, but Jesse has a different sort of approach because he's media, but he's also, kind of a different sort of, he's almost like an influencer type of thing. I don't know exactly. Kind of like you, Drew. He's an influencer. Yeah. So he has a chance to kind of get a different perspective on players. So it's always interesting.
People don't know this, Dave, but like we know this, but maybe we should just share this. But like people don't know this, but like originally Drew was flown to the Bahamas for the Fire Festival as an influencer. Like there was all those supermodels, and then they had Drew there as well, just kind of schmoozing and just kind of selling the festival to everybody. People don't know that, but yes, Drew was an influencer. I just got back last
week. In fact, I've been there. Yeah. I just got back last week. It was lovely. Much more of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show still to come on this Saturday morning. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Grinsberg, brought to you by our friends at Play Now.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money. So much of your money. Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning. Big thanks to Jesse Pollock for jumping on with us. Always fun to catch up with him. I noticed in the Holt Dental ad, we remember you yesterday on the post-game show. I'm sure all of you joined us for the post-game show. I brought up that Reddit thread about somebody wanting to find out where they can get a grill, and then I showed that on the post-game show. Then I went back to the Reddit thread after, and they referenced it on the Reddit thread that we were talking about it on the post-game show.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that, Drew. We need to talk about your Reddit lurking problem.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I sometimes look to see what people are saying on Reddit. I mean, again, I'm not active. I'm not participating. Just like there's people who don't participate in the chat, but they watch the show. It's the equivalent thereof for me on Reddit. I mean,
Dave agrees with me. There's some lurking that's going on behind the scenes with Drew, Dave, that I'm a little bit concerned about.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised. Was I surprised? Yeah, I was a little surprised actually that you were on the Winnipeg Reddit thread, Drew. I'm not gonna lie.
You're the Redditor of the three of us.
I know, but that's because I'm posting Jets content on said Reddit.
Well, that's
I'm not on Winnipeg Reddit randomly posting things, just saying, or lurking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt for a second that you've done a little bit of lurking in your day as well, there, my friend.
Dave,
come on.
Oh wow, Ezzy, you're just throwing me under the bus.
Oh no, but I know you too well. Dave M lurks. Oh yeah, he lurks. But the thing is, Dave M lurks in the shadows.
Actually, it sounds like Kenny's water bottle believes I'm the puppet master. He says Dave is the puppet master. He has sucked Drew into his Reddit universe. So apparently, I'm the puppet master.
Apparently, everybody thinks. Doug says that Ezzy's lurking. Apparently, we're all lurking. I'm not sure what that says about us as
I've never been on Reddit once in my life.
Really?
That I believe. I believe that.
Okay.
I'm actually literally on Reddit as we speak. For the record.
Maybe I should get on Reddit. I mean, Dave thinks. Why would I sell me on Reddit, Dave? Why do I need to be on Reddit?
You don't.
Okay, good talk. I'm glad we evaluated all that. Jets, of course, in action tomorrow afternoon against the New Jersey Devils. A 1:00 puck drop on Saturday afternoon, or Sunday afternoon rather. Based on, would you go with the same lineup? Do you think that there's any possibility of any lineup changes ahead of tomorrow afternoon's game? I mean, from my perspective,
depends on what's going on with Pionk and Barron.
Sure, I guess
right?
health-wise would be a question there. But other than that, performance-wise, would you go with the same group? I mean, when was the last time the Jets got a goal from each of their 4 lines?
It's been a while. Possibly
has it happened this year? It probably hasn't happened this season.
Drew, when was the last time the Jets have scored 5 goals?
Well, against Washington, the last time
I
they
know.
won
I was going to say the last time they won 5-1.
That's right.
The Jets love winning 5-1.
That's the only score that they can win is 5-1. I mean, the Jets, I mean, I would be surprised if you saw much, as assuming, again, health-wise is the asterisk next to that. And the Jets have an optional practice coming up in about 2 hours' time that we'll have covered in full, of course, on illegalcurve.com. I would think that, it's been working the last couple games, or last night in particular, that assuming everybody came out of that game healthy, and there were some health-related, things in that game. Adam Lowry left briefly after taking that shot to the jaw a little bit. Josh Morrissey took that slap shot. I mean, Logan Stanley almost
Pearson also, I actually think Pearson also had something happen where he was hit into the boards, I think. Dan referenced it on the broadcast.
Okay, so I mean, there's possibility injury-wise that you might see some changes, but I think that the Jets are maybe beginning to understand, for a team that was constantly trying to find lines that worked, it looks like I would expect that they're going to continue to give some runway to the Perfetti, Taves, Velarde line and the Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo line. Now, Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo, we've seen together before, so that's not a breaking news surprise. But again, Perfetti, Velarde, and Taves, it's not a high bar to achieve, but they're looking a little bit better, I think, based on Gabe Velarde's real performance on that line as of late.
No, absolutely. I think that line sticking together for the short term. We'll see, if they stay together for the majority of the rest of the season. But I think, Drew, if Pionk and Barron aren't ready to go tomorrow afternoon, I would expect it to be a similar lineup, guys. Obviously, if Pionk or Barron are good to go, I mean, those are regulars, right? So I think everybody agrees. Any Jets fans would tell you that if those guys are good to go, they're going to be in the lineup. But it'll be interesting to see who you bring out, because I think it would make sense, that you would not have Danny Jilkin in the lineup, but he's played pretty well. So what do you do? Like, just using that as an example, if Barron is to come back, Dave, what do you do? Do you take Jilkin out or do you take Nemesnikov out? Because Nemesnikov was the player that came in. Nemesnikov scored his first goal, right? So it's not as easy. Like, I think, we're starting to see, the life of an NHL coach, right? Having to make hard decisions. But no, I think, Drew, to your point about the lines, I think, they're most likely going to stay the same. It depends on if Barron comes back and where they slot Barron in. But
if Barron comes back, I would think that Pearson would be the one who would leave the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah,
that would be where I'm thinking, just simply because, Koepke, and again, not that goal scoring or scoring a goal, guarantees that you get to maintain your place in the lineup for another game or for your next game. But given the way that this Jets season has gone, and I think you'd be real hard pressed, or you could lose a dressing room if both Koepke and Nemesnikov score on Friday night, and then one of them is removed from the lineup. And just
Tanner Pearson just scored the other night against Edmonton, right?
And that's true.
I'm not saying that your prediction is a bad one, obviously, Drew, because I think it's most likely going to be one of Pearson, Nemesnikov, or Jilkin, and then maybe you throw in Koepke. But I think also, Dave, you have to ask the question, well, if Pearson's coming out, then is Barron going to be, like, how are you using Barron? Is he going to be on the fourth line, or are you going to put him, maybe reunite him with Lowry because he's had some success playing on the Lowry line, right? But these are all interesting things. It's a good thing. It's a good problem to have that there's players that we're talking about that are options that could come out of the lineup because they're actually playing better, right? Like Tanner Pearson, he's playing better hockey. Vlad Nemesnikov, he's playing better hockey. He finally got that monkey off of his back, right? Yeah. So I've said this before. And I'll say it again. I really like Cole Koepke's game. Like, I think he's a guy that I hope that the Jets, like, if you're signing him in the offseason, you're giving him a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, and it's not going to be a crazy amount of money, right?
You're paying him $1 million this year, so you can pay him $1 million next year as well, probably.
I think he's been a good fourth-line player, and like I said on the post-game show last night, I think Jilkin deserves to get a third game, Dave. So, maybe it's going to be Tanner Pearson. If Morgan Barron's good to go, maybe we'll see. Maybe, Morgan Barron's not healthy enough to come back until the Islanders game, Dave, right? But, I mean, I think it's at least fun to be talking about this, guys. Danny Jilkin is thrown in, and I'll give Dave M credit here because he was the first guy that suggested that he might be the first call-up for the Jets. And, he's looked impressive in that fourth-line center role.
Well, and also he's playing the PK, which we saw last night. Yep. And so that's another thing that he can do. Remember, it's about being multidimensional when you get to the NHL. It's not about only having one skill set. So him being able to do that is one of those things that makes him a little bit more difficult to take out of the lineup. Not impossible, but it makes it a little more difficult. And I would imagine that Scott O'Neill liked what he saw from him yesterday, but he probably liked what he saw from a lot of guys yesterday because of the way they played in the first 40 minutes, taking control of that hockey game. So, yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one, but I highlighted the comment, I think it was from Joe, that I like having Zhilkin and Koepke on that fourth line. I think that's exactly what you need from your fourth line. So you have those two, you throw in, I mean, even if you want to throw Morgan Barron into that mix, that would be quite a speedy fourth.
It's going to give you speed for a team that has no speed. At least you're going to get some speed on that line.
I like the look of that line. Like just talking about that line, like, and that's what I think. If Pearson is the guy to come out, then it's logical, right, Dave? That Barron goes on the fourth line. Nemesnikov, I think, fit in pretty nicely there with Lowry and Niederreiter, and then the top two lines stay the same, right? So
that's
the lines are starting to they're starting to look a little bit more impressive than they were a few weeks ago.
Well, that's to gel. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's starting to gel for sure. And I know that Arniel wanted to give, Perfetti and Taves and Velarde. And again, Velarde is a player, we mentioned him a couple times already. He's looked really good. He really has. I think that line actually looked really good yesterday. And I think that they're starting to form that chemistry. And so you've got something. And yeah, I mean, look, is Nemesnikov and Barron kind of interchangeable? 3-4, fine if you want, depending on the way you want the line to look. But it seemed like that line worked. And it seemed like this fourth line, and if you take Pearson out and you put Barron in, I think that's pretty seamless. And Neil Pionk, again, like I said, we know that he blocked the shot with his foot. So is he going to be ready to go? Who knows? I don't know. So, I mean, it's just a function of, so on the defensive end, and it's really not that interesting in the sense that, like, the defense was fine yesterday. So you're not clamoring for some sort of change right away.
Are you surprised, Dave, that there was no call-up, by the way, with Hayden Fleury out as well? Like, I guess that's going to that tells you that it really is day-to-day. But if Pionk is going to miss the game, I wonder, like, if I don't know. If
they'd have to put someone on IR, obviously. So
that would be Fleury, right? But I don't know.
No, Fleury's on IR.
Fleury's on IR.
Because remember, they called up Zhilkin. Right. So
another player would have to go on IR.
Yeah, so you'd have to put on,
or you have to waive a player, which is not ideal.
We know that's not happening.
No, but I mean, like it's although and I was already monitoring the NHL media site to see if there was any movement in that regard, and there was nothing. What
about the OHL trade portal? What's happening?
Dave is like Dave's Clockwork Orange style. He gets his eyes pried open and just stares at the NHL media style for hours on end, waiting to see. The problem is, if your eyes are being pried open with toothpicks, who refreshes it? Who presses the refresh button? Or
I just know where it is. I just have my. I've the little the any key.
The little bird from the
Simpson.
little bird from the Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
YES. YES. Okay, well, that's good. But going back to the Perfetti Taves Velarde line, and going back to something that we were talking about with Jesse, you sort of need to figure out what you have with Cole Perfetti. And this has been a terrible year for him. I think he would be the first to probably admit that it's been a terrible year for him. It got off on the wrong foot with the injury, pardon the pun. But I would give some runway for now, almost through the rest of the season, to see if Perfetti and Velarde, and you'll use Taves right now because he's the guy who's there, and who knows if Taves will be here next year or not. That's a separate issue entirely. But I would see if that has any chemistry, if there is any long-term hope for that line for years to come, because that Gabe Velarde is going to be a member of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, he signed the big contract extension in the offseason. He's not going anywhere. Cole Perfetti, as we talked about, is a couple years away from unrestricted free agency. You don't know what you have really necessarily. You thought you had something, then there was a bit of a downturn, and then this has been a terrible year, so you don't know what you have for next year. You don't know what his long-term trajectory is. But all of a sudden, if for the remainder of the season, you see that there's a bit of a connectivity and there's a connection between Velarde and Perfetti, maybe that gives you a little bit of confidence, gives you a little bit of hope that, hey, there's our second line. 2/3 of your second line. Obviously, the center iceman is a big role to fill there, but at least you got some sort of starting blocks there, as opposed to through the first 40 games of the season where you've had Perfetti. You really haven't had a second line of any quality. That's, I think, one of the big things that the Jets need to evaluate over the remainder of the last 39 games here is, give Perfetti and Velarde some runway and see what you can put together between the two of them, because that Scheifele and Connor plus almost whomever they are playing with is going to work fine for you.
For sure. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Perfetti in the offseason. Like I'm with Jesse, right? Like I think at the beginning of this year, before the injury happened, you were thinking if Perfetti builds on last year, right? He had 50 points or around 50 points. If he builds on the last year, let's say, and he bumps that up to 60 or 65 points, okay, well then the Jets are going to sign him to a long-term contract, possibly even as many as 8 years, guys, just based on his age, right? Certainly you're talking 6 to 8 years as a possibility now with the high ankle sprain. And obviously, the offensive production hasn't been there. It's a mystery. And like Drew mentioned, you're not going to sign him to a 2-year deal because that walks him to unrestricted free agency. Mm-hmm. So like you're looking at like a 1-year deal or a shorter term deal. I think in the 3, 4, 5 year range. Like nothing really would tell me that, like based on how he's played this year, that he's going to be a guy that the Jets sign to 8 years, 7 years, or even 6 years. I just don't
sign 8-year contracts anymore, so that ship has sailed. But,
sorry, you're right. So
7-year contract.
7 year is you're right, because that just kicked in this year, right?
Yeah, it's in part of the new CBA. So
yeah.
I mean, I would agree with you, Ezzy, that I mean, like I broke down when we were talking to Jesse about it. I would say right now, if I had to choose something, it would probably be a 1-year deal. Simply
that's what I'm kind of leaning to, as because I think that's the best thing. I think for both the Jets and Perfetti. Because because if you're doing that, Perfetti's gambling on himself, right? Not. I mean, maybe that's not the right word, but he's betting on himself to have a really good year, and then he signs the long-term contract after, right? So that's what I'm saying. I think we're talking either a 1-year deal or like a 3 or 4 year deal at this point, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair question. I think it's going to be one that is going to persist, right? I mean, because there's. You have that inconsistency in his play. I mean, this was supposed to be he had that great year last year, and we were all expecting the step forward. And because of the injury, he hasn't had it. And, that's problematic. Now we'll see what he does in the second half, and that's going to be big for him and for the team. And I mean, again, I can't predict how it's going to go, but I don't anticipate it's going to be, I mean, you're right though. This is the last year of the long-term contract for a team, right? So, because the new CBA will be in effect. So I think I do tend to believe that it's going to be probably like I would think a 4-year deal, maybe. I don't think it'll be, again, I don't think they're going to walk him to UFA, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal for Cole Perfetti.
Well, I mean,
no, and I just want to say one thing, Drew. Like, I know there's some people that would say trade Perfetti, see what you can get from him. I think for at least as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of reasons why I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying that those fans aren't entitled to that opinion, but first off, are you not trading him from a position of weakness, right?
Of course, you're trading him at his lowest value.
Right. So I think that alone is a reason why I don't think you trade him. And I think the other main reason why I don't, and again, this is just my own personal opinion. I don't have Kevin Cheveldayoff's ear. In fact, he's told me many times to stop loitering.
You shouldn't have other humans' ears. It's not a good sign.
No, I'm not Vincent Van Gogh. Yeah, Van Gogh, I think, taught us that, right, Drew?
Yeah, but he only had his own ear. He didn't have other people's ears.
Yeah, but still, I mean, just generally speaking, ears are not something that you want to have in your hands, right?
You don't want to collect other people's body parts. We've talked about
yes.
That is an inappropriate thing.
Yes, we have talked about that before, Drew.
Wasn't Drew, didn't you learn that on Reddit?
In fact, I did not learn that on Reddit.
That's a good one,
I knew
Dave.
that you should not collect human body parts, body tissues, bodily functions, just no body things besides your own body things. That's the rule of thumb that you should go with. Oh, by the way, don't collect thumbs either.
Wow, I don't know how we got to this. Maybe because I said I don't have Chevy's ear, and then Drew went on a tangent about cannibalism. I'm not sure what is.
I didn't say anything about eating them. I said about collecting them. Don't collect them.
Well, that's a form of cannibalism, I think. No, or whatever the word is for that.
Cannibalism is the eating of other humans.
Okay, yes.
Not the collecting of their body parts. Also a troubling sign, but not cannibalism.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I think that, it's tough to know what Chevy and the organization is necessarily thinking, but I would be of them. I think it's logical, boys, to think that they still see Cole Perfetti as a long-term member of this team and are aware that this is, like Drew said, I agree. I think you're looking at this year, and there's a half a year to go. So, it's not like I'm talking about this as if this year's over already. So he could obviously pick it up in the second half of the season and score some goals and put some points up. But I think the Jets are acutely aware of the fact that he's had the high ankle sprain and he's not the same player right now. And so I think that this year you have to give him almost the benefit of the doubt. And that's why I think that that it's not an option to trade him. That's all I'm going to say. I think that it'll be interesting to see what type of term he gets on his next contract. But my own personal opinion is that he's. But who knows? If somebody
this is the guy you drafted top 10,
right?
Why are you trade at this point in time? Yes, it's a bad year. Yes, he maybe hasn't panned out perfectly, but you can't trade a guy on a down, at a low value point.
Exactly.
And so if you sign him and he flames out again, okay, you sign him to a 1-year deal, and if he matches this performance for a second consecutive year, then maybe you just say, okay, it was a bad draft pick, or this is what he's going to develop into, and it's not going to be a second line quality player. But first of all, I can't see any NHL team giving you enough value for him via trade at this point, given his performance this year, Dave. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't think the Jets are prepared to cut bait on it yet either. That's why, go back to the point of put him with Velarde for the next 35 games, see if they can do something together, and then you head into the offseason and say, okay, those two guys up front, Connor Scheifele, Velarde, Perfetti, second line, Lowry, Barron, third line, whatever it might be.
You got your pairs.
Your pairs. You're just beginning to sort of put some pieces back together and then trying to flesh it out moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's exactly what you're going to have to do. And so, like I said, Cole Perfetti I should have said, I think it'll be 4 years, but it just easily could be a 1-year deal, right? And you could just kind of, like you said, that prove me. Let's see, you got one more kind of chance before we'll figure something out here. And that kind of gives both the organization and the player that chance to see if this was just an anomaly or if this is what he is, right? So I just think it'll be an interesting sort of scenario playing out. I think they all will. I think like what they're going to do with their UFAs. Again, I would anticipate they're going to trade a lot of them, like especially with Luke Shen. Basically, it sounds like he definitely is interested in a move, and the fact that there might be value. Well, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, that's a no-brainer. One, because it'll free up a spot for a guy like Ilya Salamonson to come up and play some more games, and you're going to give him that big runway that we talked about with Jesse, right, guys? So that to me is the one thing you don't want to have happen organizationally is have guys, regardless of what the year is, but who end up being, roadblocks from your prospect pool, and preventing guys like Salamonson or Zhilkin or even Lambert and Chibrikov, however it's going to turn out, to get a chance to see them at the NHL level for an extended period of time. If this truly is, as I said, a lost season, boys, then to me, you're going to have to give those guys a lot of looks. And once the trade deadline happens, and if you end up dumping a lot of players, then you'll get that chance.
Coming up next, our good friend Craig Button joins us. We'll talk about the Jets. We'll talk about the draft-eligible prospects that were playing at the World Juniors. And we'll talk, of course, about Sasha Boumedian and Alphonse Frage and their performance in Minnesota at the just-completed World Junior Hockey Championships. Much more to come on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by Play Now. Don't go anywhere. Craig Button is up next.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money. So much of your money. Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of hour number 2. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We remind you, the Illegal Curve post-game show tomorrow, right around 3:30, 3:45, depending on how long the Devils and the Winnipeg Jets take. When that game concludes, the Illegal Curve post-game show begins. I suspect it might be a bit of a sleepy contest to start, at least tomorrow afternoon, with that weird 1 o'clock start time. I think there's going to be a lot of families, maybe some of the kids who like to chant "fight, fight, fight" at the kids' days at the Moose game will bring some of that energy to tomorrow afternoon's contest between the Jets and the New Jersey Devils. The Jets looking to make it 2 wins in a row, which would certainly constitute a winning streak for this Winnipeg Jets team that has done so little of that so far this year. They'll look to do that tomorrow, and of course, we'll have complete coverage all day long here on our YouTube channel and, of course, on illegalcurve.com. We also want to further remind everyone, coming up on the 22nd of January, that's the Thursday, the Florida Panthers are going to be in town to face off against the Winnipeg Jets on that Thursday night. We'll have a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the lunch hour broadcast, coming to you live from City Place, the food court, 2nd floor, City Place Shopping Center in downtown Winnipeg. We'll be there to talk about the Jets and the Panthers Thursday, January 22nd. So mark that in your calendar. Looking forward to getting together, of course, with our friends at City Place. Always a great time when we are on site there. We're looking forward to welcoming Craig Button to the program. He's going to join us coming up momentarily. Again, I look at tomorrow and I say that's an opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets to continue with you saw the relief on the face last night. You saw that from Scott Arniel. You saw the emotion in the voice of Eric Comrie, or you heard the emotion from Eric Comrie talking about how difficult this has been on the families, his family, all the players' families.
Which, Drew, just to be clear, it was funny because DeMello also somewhat echoed that when we talked about him earlier in the morning, just about how he was talking about his son and how his son kind of helps him get through it, because it can sometimes be a little bit tough. But I just thought the family theme was interesting because it started in the morning and continued into the evening.
Well, I mean, I think the family vibe is something that the Jets as an organization promote internally to their players. I mean, I think that there's an element of that is almost part and parcel with the culture that they build here in Winnipeg. So I'm not surprised to hear that. You look at the number of guys who've signed up long term and who've sort of really settled and established roots with their families here in Winnipeg. So I'm not surprised to hear that the theme of family assistance was prominent both pre-game and post-game in yesterday's media availabilities. Now the Jets, of course, will want to make it 2 in a row tomorrow against your Devils there, Ezzy. And you have to believe that the opportunity to strike is sitting there for the Jets. It's not like they're playing up against Juggernaut. This isn't Colorado Avalanche. This is a New Jersey Devils team that has struggled, that only earlier this week gave up 9 goals, I might add, to the New York Islanders. Jacob Markstrom had one of the worst single game goaltending performances of all time in NHL history, based on
and left in for all the goals, by the way.
Well, and left in for all the goals. So they haven't played since Thursday. The Devils haven't. So they're going to be rested certainly when they visit Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon. But from the Jets' perspective, again, you're playing an opponent that shouldn't have an overwhelming amount of confidence. The Jets have to, and the Jets certainly don't either. But they're at least feeling a little bit better about themselves because of the significant victory, the lopsided victory last night over the LA Kings.
Right, and I think the big thing is that you want to build on that. And now the Jets have that monkey off their back. They've got the win. The losing streak is over, and now you want to build on that. You don't want to take one step forward and then take one step back. And I think it's not just because you're 10 points out of a playoff spot and you're trying to bank as many points you can to stay as close as you can to the playoff line, right, Dave? It's because you don't want the losing to creep in again. And we talked about it. I think now the MO for the Jets is win as many games as you can and make sure that you're playing consistently on a nightly basis. I know it's a cliche, but I think that has to be the MO for this team. Like, they've lost too many games. They're not in a position where they can afford to lose that many more games, or they're just going to be really mathematically out of the playoffs already in early January, right? So, yeah, look, the Devils. I think we got Craig coming on here. The Devils, they don't score a lot of goals, and like you said, they've just put up 9. The Islanders did against the Devils, so it's definitely a winnable game tomorrow afternoon. But I think Craig is ready to pop on here in a second.
Here he is, our good friend Craig Button joins us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Craig, good morning. Thanks so much for making time for us. We were talking about just the sense of relief that the Winnipeg Jets undoubtedly felt after getting the victory last night over the Los Angeles Kings. A lopsided victory by on the scoreboard 5-1. Is there something there that you think the Jets can build upon? They face a New Jersey Devils team tomorrow afternoon that certainly has also been struggling as of late. Are there building blocks and signs that the Jets can maybe build their way to some degree out of the struggles they've been in?
Well, before I answer that, guys, Happy New Year.
Likewise.
And the sense of relief that I have to come on your wonderful show and not have to talk what ails the Winnipeg Jets if they would have gone 12 games winless. I can't begin to tell you what a smile I had on my face last night, when the game ended. Even at the end of the second period, it's 5-1. And I was very confident. And during the intermission, I said, if they play like this, they're going to win this game. And, but given recent history, nothing is a given, right? And I think that has been something that's been confounding. Forget about us and forget about the fans. I mean, the coaches, the players, I think it's been confounding for them. I mean, in that 11-game winless streak, like, they were in 9 one-goal games. 9. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're getting blown out. It's not like you're a team that is not in the game or wasn't in position to win the game. I mean, in so many of those cases, they were right there. Now, to answer your question, do I think it can serve as some small stepping stone? Yeah. I mean, you got to start with one step, right? I mean, I know it's an overused cliche, but the 1,000-mile march begins with the first step. And for the Winnipeg Jets, that's the march they're on now. One step, then take a second step. And that second step comes against a team that's wobbling in the New Jersey Devils on Sunday. And certainly a team that is doubting themselves, so much like the Winnipeg Jets. But this is not a game where the Winnipeg Jets should be feeling pity for the New Jersey Devils. They should be going in there and go, hey, wait a sec. Let's get right after it. Let's make this 2. And I think they're more than capable. And you guys watch, and you watch very closely. This was a team that for really good stretches of games, they played really, really well. And then a mistake here, a little mistake there, another mistake there, and all of a sudden now you're looking uphill again. And I think that, eliminating some of those little mistakes, Scott Arniel used the term, he said, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And I think that was a big case. Eliminate those little errors, eliminate those little mistakes. Don't be tentative. Mental lapses, Kevin Sawyer called them. And all of a sudden you start to find a path towards winning a lot more than you lose. And I think that you start to win before it takes before you start winning, you got to put some things into place. And maybe the results don't show up, but once you start to get those things into place, the wins start to pile up. And I think the Jets are capable of doing that.
Craig, we were talking about Cole Perfetti last segment before you came on, and he had a great night, maybe arguably his best game of the season last night, a couple of assists. And as you know, his offensive production, the goals and assists have not been there this year. But I wanted to ask you and kind of, ask you to put on the GM hat, because obviously you've had the GM experience. How hard is it to evaluate him considering this is a contract year? Because he's had the high ankle sprain. Clearly, at least to me, there's some lingering effects from that high ankle sprain. Like, how hard does that make it in terms of determining, how long you're going to sign him? Because I think a lot of people thought, he could be a guy that's signed to a 7-year contract, and based on what's happened this year, maybe even a 1-year contract could be on the table.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, Dave, is that when you start to talk about a player like Perfetti, so he came into training camp off of a high from last year, and then right at the end, gets the high ankle sprain, and that certainly set him back. What was interesting for me, having watched Cole for as long as I've watched him, is that he looked tentative. He looked unsure of himself. I can't begin to tell you how many times I'd watched the games and he wasn't moving, and he wasn't, and then he was overthinking, and he was looking behind him and, okay, what can I do here? He wasn't confident with the puck. And, so you're trying to encourage a young player to get after it and to dig in and to, hey, here's what you do when you do well. And hey, listen, I mean, for a long, long stretch there, Cole Perfetti was not functioning at any level that screamed NHL player, let alone 7-year contract extension. So, but they know him, and they know what he's about, and they've seen what he can be when he's at his best. And so I think you try to balance that out. Do I think they should be giving him a 7-year contract? If it was me, I wouldn't be doing that. I would, but he's got a couple of years till he's unrestricted. So you try to mitigate against that as well. And so how do you do that? How do you keep the confidence of the player up? How do you make sure that you're not putting your organization in a position where you might have a little bit of buyer's remorse? And I'm not suggesting that would be the case. I just think you got to take a measure of patience here with Cole, because what does a 7-year contract look like? What does the number look like when you start to consider? He was a half a point a game player. So what does a half a point a game player deserve? What does that mean for a young player? What's his upside? I might, like, for me, you might be going on a 3-year deal. That gets you, I believe it gets you 1 year of unrestricted free agency, and you try to factor in, okay, we know him, we like him, we know what he can do when he's good. 3 years is comfortable. Maybe he'd like more. Maybe we'd like 2 years, but we don't want to walk him to free agency. So that seems to be the framework in terms of what I would work with. If it wasn't a player that they had drafted, molded, developed, watched grow, might be a different story. But this is a player they know. And the game Friday night, I mean, he was unbelievably great. And to me, that's the Cole Perfetti that can be a really good player. I want to add one more thing, and we can pick up on this and go wherever we want. I think the value of Gabe Vilardi is really being shown here now. going down to play with Tays and with Perfetti. Well, going down. I don't know if it's going down. I mean, we know how good Scheifele and Connor are. I mean, they're great players. But Gabe being able to go down and give support to Jonathan and to Cole, I think it's significant. Because Alex Iafallo can play with those top guys. Now you have a second line. Now, because what they didn't have with Nemesnikov there, they didn't have any weight. They didn't have any kind of forceful size again there. Gabe is smart. He's heavy. He's hard. He takes some of the burden off of both Jonathan because he's so smart. He can think along the same lines as Jonathan, as well as Cole. And he takes some of the burden off of Cole with respect to being heavy. He can get in there. Now Cole can read off of that. I think that Scott Arniel has done a really nice job. And I know Morgan didn't play on Friday night, but Morgan Barron up on that third line with Nita Ryder and Lowry now. It looks right. It feels right. And I think it will be right. I think they finally found a mix of three lines that I think can function really nicely.
Well, Craig, I'm going to stick on that same second line and go with the only player that we haven't really talked about is Jonathan Toews, because one of the biggest focuses for everyone when he was signed was how is he going to look? And we knew it was going to take some time. And a lot of folks like us were saying, you're really going to judge him in January, February, March, not in October and November. How are you seeing Jonathan Toews, who obviously, even though he's called Captain Serious, showed a lot of emotion getting that goal last night in the game?
Jonathan is serious because he's serious about winning, and he's serious about being the best he can be. He's serious about helping a team win. I mean, nobody has to tell Jonathan Toews that the team is not won in a number of games. Nobody has to tell Jonathan Toews he hasn't scored in a while. But here's the signs that are really positive. When you think about John, he didn't play for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, 2 seasons. So he's not playing, right? And now you get back to health. But health is one thing. Now trying to get back to hockey level, like NHL level capability is a whole different thing. And I think to your point, we talk about what his value would be, how judge him in January after the halfway point. I think we're seeing that now show up, that was accurate in waiting to judge him until the second half of the season. Because over the last half dozen games that I've been watching him, he's moving. He's getting chances. He's right around. He's always been a brilliant, smart player in terms of how to play the game. I mean, I think every player, every young player, Danny Zilkin, Cole, just watch the way he plays. He plays the game with so much detail and so much competitive fire. Now his legs are moving. And one of the things that I don't think enough consideration is given, you also lose your hands. You lose your hands when you haven't played for 2.5 years or 2 seasons. And so you can see him handling the puck, but he wasn't really confident holding the puck. And he was confident, but he wasn't really adept. Now his hands are working again. And so all those things, we can look at the skating and we can look at where he's at. But to me, I think that you see a player now that's finding a form that can be really good for the team. And that I think is something that we can look at Jonathan and say, hey, this is what he is and this is what he can be. And again, back to the lines, I think that he's got support there now with Gabe on one side and Cole on the other side. And I expect this to continue on and Jonathan to look really, really strong and positive where he's at in his career. We're not getting the Jonathan Toews when he was the captain in Chicago, helping them win Stanley Cups, helping Canada win gold medals. You're getting a Jonathan Toews that I think can be really good and strong for the Winnipeg Jets. He doesn't need to be anything more than he is right now because you have Scheifele and you have Lowry.
Craig Button is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Craig, how do you think Scott Arniel handled himself, handled the roster, handled the dressing room in the course of the losing streak that finally ended last night?
Yeah, you know, let me start the first off here, Drew. The first for me is, you know, this is a coach that's been around a very successful team as an assistant coach with Rick Bowness. And then last year, you know, he's the coach of the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets. You know, they had their challenges versus the St. Louis Blues. And I go back to that series against St. Louis. You know, they're up, they're down, there's questions, and he kept everything steady. And obviously the game 7, call it whatever you want, was phenomenal. But you got to keep a sense of optimism and positive energy when you're going through the dips. It's easy to be positive when things are going good. Good coaches, good leaders manage the dips. So this was a massive dip for the Winnipeg Jets. Scott Arniel didn't become a coach that wasn't capable anymore. And like anybody else, like you can get frustrated. And there was times over the stretch where you could feel that Scott was getting a little bit frustrated and some of the things, but it wasn't. I think once you look at it and go, hey, that's just a little bit of frustration, and that's okay. And players get frustrated. Why can't a coach get a little frustrated? All in all, my answer to that would be he was always looking to find solutions, always looking to try to find ways for them to be better, ways for them to find their way out of it. He was patient when he needed to be, I think. I think he was assertive when he needed to be. But all in all, it's not an easy situation. And again, it would be one thing if they weren't working hard, if they weren't competing, if they were really getting beat like badly in games and it was, oh my God, this is ugly. What was ugly, and I use the word ugly very loosely, was the fact that they couldn't find a way after having played so well for stretches of games and really showing how good they can be and then losing. And I think that, as a coach, you got to work your group through it and keep working and saying, hey, here's where we're at. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Kevin and Vlad Nemesnikov last night in between the periods. Mm-hmm. And, Kevin asked a great question. He asked Vlad Nemesnikov, how does it feel to be a healthy scratch? And I thought Vladdy was unbelievably great. He acknowledged, hey, listen, it's not easy, but also when I look at my own game, I needed to be better. I had to be better. And sometimes you need something like that. So when somebody who's as great a person as Vlad Nemesnikov is, who's been a valuable player and will still continue, in my view, to be a valuable player for the Winnipeg Jets, acknowledges that, hey, this wasn't anything that came out of left field. It was something that I benefited from. I think that it was that I needed it. Sometimes you need that wake-up call. That, to me, speaks to Scott Arniel dealing with the personal part of it. You're also dealing with a wonderful person in Vlad. But I think, Drew, that comment by Vlad Nemesnikov spoke volumes to me, that you don't have to like what the coach says, but you can respect what the coach does and says. And I think the players absolutely respect Scott Arniel.
Vlad was showing a lot of humility there. I think you would agree, Craig. And I wanted to take the conversation a little bit of a different route. I think you won't be surprised, but you're obviously at the World Juniors, and everybody knows Sweden won the gold medal, Canada won the bronze. Everybody knows what happened. But because of where the Jets are in the standings, as you know, a lot of people are talking Gavin McKenna. A lot of people are talking Ivor Stenberg, Keaton Verhoff. Obviously, the Jets, I think you'd agree, they're going to try to win as many hockey games as they can and hopefully get into a playoff spot. But if there was a year, and I know we always talk to you about the draft, we've been having you on the show for 15 years. This would be a good draft, would it not, to possibly be in that lottery situation and get a really good player?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. Nobody, all of us are looking at it. Everybody, the people that are close to it, you guys, the team, the fans, we look at it and we say, geez, what's going on? Like, this is confounding. People from outside going, what's happened? Like, I have more questions on what's going on with Winnipeg. And, I joke, Ezra, that I go, well, you know what? If I had the answers to that, I'd be making a lot of money, because they're looking for answers in Winnipeg, and they're looking hard. I talk about the coach's office. You get into that coach's office, and they're putting things up on the board, and they're discussing what can we do here, what can we do differently. So like that is confounding. Now, that being said, you look at, okay, reality. You have to stare reality square up. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say where you're at. To your point, I think. Listen, I'm going to be very clear here, and maybe the Winnipeg Jets think differently, and that's fine. To me, they should not even be considering a defenseman in this draft if they got a choice between McKenna and Stenberg, because they have Morrissey, they have Sandberg, they have Pionk, they have Boumedienne, Alphonse Frey, and Salamonson. I don't see any, they need offensive players. They need players that can help on the offensive side of things in the forward group. Stenberg and McKenna are top line players. Now you spread around a little bit more offense. That's my feel on it. That's where they should be looking. That's where I would be looking. Maybe I shouldn't put it on them, but that's where I would be looking. Now, when we talk about McKenna and Stenberg, hey, listen, I think McKenna is a heck of a player. I think Stenberg's a heck of a player. I think that the tournament serves as a really good evaluation piece. You know, if you watched Ivar Stenberg at the beginning of that tournament, and I talked to Magnus Havlid, and he said he's trying to show everybody every single tool he has all in one shift. And, you know, if you watched Ivar for the first few games, like he wasn't finding his game. And then it was interesting. Now he got comfortable. Magnus got him back into a place where he just went and played his game. And now people join and see the last few games. Oh, Ivar Stenberg, he's way better than McKenna. McKenna had 14 points. And I know that we looked at it and we go Denmark and everything, power play. Listen, I don't see where they give you more points or where you get more weight for even strength goals. Scoring is scoring, offense is offense. And watch what he did against Finland. I mean, like in that bronze medal game, yeah, we know that Gavin didn't. Gavin will be the first person to tell you he wasn't very good against Czechia in the semifinal. He wasn't. And that's, hey, you have an off game. But he comes back against Finland, and he was brilliant. And so for me, like I think Gavin McKenna has those Patrick Kane type abilities. I think Stenberg has those Kucherov type things. Okay, so we're talking about two automatic Hall of Famers in Kane and Kucherov, MVPs, 5,000 point guys, 500 goals now for Patrick Kane. And I guess if anything, what I would say to you is that the team picking first, it's for me, it's not as simple as just McKenna or Stenberg. I think there's a good discussion to be had there. And I wouldn't have said that 2 months ago. I wouldn't have said that in the summer. But after you take in more information and you watch, I think it's a worthy discussion to have. And these are two outstanding offensive players in my view.
Well, Craig, let's stick with the World Juniors and talk about two defensive players in Sasha Boumedienne and Alphonse Frey, because that's the one Jets fans are very curious about. Of course, unless you're watching a lot of Boston University or the Swedish Hockey League, you don't get a chance to see them very often, very up close and personal. So from your perspective, how did they acquit themselves in the tournament?
They were outstanding. Sweden was the best team in the tournament. Okay, again, you at the beginning of a tournament, you look at the players, you go, okay, how do they look on paper? What do they have? Blah, blah, blah. And then you watch how a team builds its game, how it becomes more consistent because the level keeps increasing. And Sweden did that at the end of it. And so people hadn't really been watching the Swedes. And you watch the Czechs play against Canada and you go, oh my God, if the Czechs play like that, Swedes have no chance. Well, I guess you haven't watched the Swedes. I mean, the Czech-Canada game was 4-4 with a minute and a half left in the semifinal. It wasn't like the Czechs throttled Canada, and Canada played a little bit like Winnipeg had during the stretch. Self-inflicted wounds, mistakes at the wrong times, and it cost them. Sweden, because their defense, and you had Frey, you had Boumedienne, and you had Leo Celine-Vilenius. They're great skaters. They're great with the puck. Czechia couldn't forecheck them. They couldn't get in on them. And where Canada struggled in that area, Sweden was never going to struggle in that area. So when you talk about Alphonse, they played big minutes. Sasha ends up with what ends up being the gold medal winning goal, which was the third goal in that game. They were outstanding. They were outstanding because of the way they not only play the game, but the way that they handle pressure, the way that they handle the challenges within the game. I mean, Magnus Havlid had a luxury. Those three guys, Boumedienne, Frey, and Celine-Vilenius, he could pair them with he had them on three different pairs. But they gave support to all the other partners they had, and those other guys didn't have to play beyond their capabilities because those three guys are so good. Listen, put up a Swedish flag in the Canada Life Center. But Salamonsson's going to play, Frey's going to play, Boumedienne's going to play. And you start to look ahead with Morrissey. Talk about Pionk, and I don't want to take anything away from Dylan. He's a little bit older. Pionk and Sandberg. That's a good blue line. Now, is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Is it going to happen next year? Probably not. But, you start the 27-28 season, and arguably that blue line can be really fleet, good with the puck, handle pressure. I think they're excellent prospects.
And Craig, they can just borrow the Swedish flag from IKEA here in Winnipeg, so they can just move that to Canada Life Center.
There you go. Like, maybe it'll be called the Canada Life IKEA Center.
Craig, they were outstanding for Team Sweden. You are an outstanding guest, as always, here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We thank you for joining us. Are you on the broadcast with Sarah tomorrow?
I am. I think I have every Winnipeg Jets game except for one during the month of January.
Well, in that case, we look forward to seeing a whole heck of a lot of you on our TV screen.
There's never enough Craig as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
Thanks, Ezra. You guys have a great day. Thanks.
Happy New Year, Craig.
Happy New
Thanks,
Year. Take care. Craig Button, our great friend, joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll take a final break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the program. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show is brought to you by our friends at Play Now. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
welcome to overtime here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on a Saturday morning. Ezra Ginsburg, the microphone is yours.
Oh, really? Wow. That's the first time that I've heard that in a while, Dave.
You said in the private chat, just for the people to understand.
Yeah, I didn't
Drew,
know,
can you throw to me at some point quickly? I got something quick to say. LOL. So
thanks for reading. Thanks for also
verbatim.
including the LOL in there. Drew.
Did you see Trump yesterday when Marco Rubio handed him the note that was supposed to be a private note?
Yeah, you just Marco Rubio'd me, Drew.
And then Donald Trumped you.
And then Donald read the note verbatim. It was great. I loved every minute of it. Ezzy, you in this example are the Donald Trump, I guess, in my analogy.
Well, first of all, the Jets play the Devils tomorrow.
Aren't you the Donald Trump, Drew?
I guess I would be the Donald Trump.
I was
Ezzy
like
would be the
Rubio.
Yeah, Ezzy would be the Rubio. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Jets, of course, play the Devils tomorrow afternoon. I just wanted to give a shout out. This came out a few days ago. Our good friend, Devils Hockey Network radio play-by-play announcer Matt Laughlin received the 2025 New Jersey Sportscaster of the Year. So longtime friend of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So wanted to give a shout out to Matt. We've had him on the show many times before. Haven't had him on recently, but just wanted to get that in there. And then also I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Clayton. This comment was from earlier today. I'm not sure if Clayton is still watching the show. He tells me he listens on the podcast, but I'll tell you in a second who Clayton is. He have the comment up there for people listening on the podcast. He says, looking refreshed today. You guys might just think, I look refreshed. But as you guys know, I had some hot water issues at my house in the last few days. And so Clayton is my hot water guy. He installed a new electric hot water tank in my house. And I'm going to give a shout out to All City Water Heater Service. All City Water Heater Service. Clayton works for them. Amazing. I called them the next day. They were here installing the electric hot water tank. I wasn't able to shower for a few days, Drew, so that's why I was pretty stinky the other day when I saw you.
Smelling
yeah.
hair.
So anyway, shout out to Clayton. He installed the hot water tank for me, and now the Ginsburg home has hot water again.
I still remember the time back when you used to live in your two previous homes ago when your shower head broke
in River Heights.
On Beaverbrook, when your shower head broke and you just were showering yourself with basically a hose in your shower for weeks on end. That was one of my favorite escapades. I think we started the show with an escapade. We might as well end the show hearkening back to a previous escapade. I'm glad that you have hot water, though, and that you have showered so that nobody is subjected to your negative odor any longer. The Jets and their losing streak odor is finished as well. They'll look to make it 2 wins in a row tomorrow afternoon against the New Jersey Devils. We will conduct the Illegal Curve post-game show tomorrow afternoon, right around 3:30, 3:45, somewhere right around there. Yours truly and Dave Manouk will be driving the post-game show bus tomorrow afternoon. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to having all of you joining us for that as well.
Oh, hold on. Shout out to my cousin, AP. Big happy birthday to AP.
Oh, happy birthday
AP,
to
happy birthday. AP's what, 21 today?
Something like that.
Something around those lines. Yeah, add a couple more years and you're almost right there. Happy birthday to AP in that case. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Big thanks to Jesse Pollock. Big thanks to Craig Button. That was one of Craig's best appearances on the show, in my humble opinion. And Craig has been coming on for so many years and always brings the great stuff. So it's terrific for him to have done so yet again. Thanks to all of you for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, turn your notifications on, and be sure to join us tomorrow for the post-game show after the Jets and the Devils. Also, thanks to our sponsors. If you're looking for something to do tonight, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Jeff McHenry will be at Rumors tonight. You know him from Letterkenny. He'll be there at 7:15 and at 9:45. Play Now is the title sponsor. Holt Dental for your grills and your teeth. City Place will be there on the 22nd. Label Daddy for all of your roast chicken labeling needs and anything else. Boston Pizza, and of course our friends at Wheatland Hockey. Thanks to them for their support, and we encourage you to support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mindell, as it has been for so very many years. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.